So you should have done your 12.2 hands-on task already and figured out that anytime we take a parallelogram or a rectangle and that we cut it in a diagonal, it is going to make the same two triangles. So triangles are related to parallelograms because it takes two of the same triangles to make a parallelogram. So if I cut this triangle or this rectangle here, these two triangles are symmetrical. They are the same. I can cut them, right? And it doesn't matter which diagonal I go from, I can make two triangles. So same thing here, right? I can cut this way and make two obtuse triangles, or I can go this way and make two acute triangles. So it really doesn't matter. You just have to cut from one diagonal to the other. So right, if I cut up and down like we did before making parallelograms, that's not going to give us triangles. Or I just cut off a chunk of it. That doesn't make two of the same triangles. So we have to cut from diagonal to diagonal, and it doesn't matter which corner to corner we go to. We just need corner to corner, and we get two of the same triangles. So when we have two equal triangles, so two equal triangles always can turn into a parallelogram. So if I have two triangles that are the same, I can hook them together, and that is going to make a parallelogram. We know how to find the area of a parallelogram, so that means we can find the area of a triangle. So right, if I wanted to find just this triangle, right, let me highlight here. So if I wanted to just find this triangle, I know the base, I know the height, right? This triangle is half of this, so I would have to cut this answer in half, divided by 2 or times by half. So, right, if I want just this one triangle, base times height, they're the same. This base and this height are the same. Cut it in half. I'm taking that parallelogram and cutting it in half. Same thing here. If I want this triangle here, here's the base, here's the height, right? Which we know that parallelogram is really just like a rectangle. Base times height, cut it in half, gives us that triangle. If I want this top triangle, same thing. It's half of this, I'm cutting it in half. So two equal triangles makes that parallelogram. So if the base times height equals area of a parallelogram, how do we find the area of a triangle? So if we just do base times height, that gives us a rectangle or a parallelogram shape. We just want the triangle, right? So we are taking it and we're cutting it into two pieces. And we just want one out of two of them. We want half of the parallelogram. So I can write that a couple ways. I want half of means to multiply, half of multiply the parallelogram, half of the base times the height. Or I can take my parallelogram, base times the height, and I can cut it in half. You're going to see me usually use this one. I usually just like to divide by 2 instead of using fractions. It just makes a little more sense to me, but it's the same thing. I want half of, right, multiply the parallelogram. I want the parallelogram cut into two pieces. Cut it into two pieces. So either of these is going to be the formula for finding the area of a triangle. So make sure you have both of those written down. So the area of a triangle, we are going to do our base times the height and divide it by 2, or take 1/2 of the base times the height. We want to take 1/2 of the parallelogram. So when we are looking at this, our base is what it's going to sit on. So here is our base. So let's go ahead and label that. And then the height is going to connect the base to the opposite corner here. So here's my height, and it will have, right, our square in there. So my height again, just like the parallelogram, has to go straight up and down, that 90-degree angle, that square angle. So height is always going to be straight up and down. It's 90 degrees. And it's always going to be connected to the base. So sometimes you might have 3 different measurements, right? We can have a triangle that, it's not a great example, has 3 different sides. So right, say this side is 4, and this one is 7, and this one is 8. If this is the base, it will be connected to that, and it will show me the height right here. So my base would be connected to the height. So that's important to remember, that the height and the base are always going to make that T shape here. So we've got that T shape, that perpendicular line to connect the base and the height. So these other numbers, right, if I have 7 and 8, those don't actually matter. I just need the height and I need the base in order to find the area. So let's do a couple practices, remembering that height is that 90-degree connected to the base. So our first one, we have 7, 10, and 4. So we're looking for that right angle, which I can see here. Let me grab something better than yellow. So here is my base is 7 and the height is 4. So this 10 is just a slanted side and I don't need it to find the area. If I'm doing perimeter, walking around, yes, I need it. But just for the inside, I do not need that. So base times height, so 7 times 4, and then we're cutting it in half. So 7 times 4, 7, 14, 21, 28. And then if I don't know 28 divided by 2 off the top of my head, I can do the division problem. Let's make sure if you don't know this. That's right. I was like, that doesn't. Oh, that's 0. I was like, this, I know the answer. And I was like, that is not it. 14. So this is 14. Oh, whoops, that was yards and I had the other ones in centimeters. Centimeters. And it's always, again, going to be squared because we're finding the squares inside of here. So when I did 7 times 4, it found that entire parallelogram, and then I had to cut it in half. So the answer is 14 centimeters squared. So let's try another one here. So we are looking first for that height, which I can see here. So here's my base and my height. So I don't need this one. So I have 9 times 11, base times height, and then we're going to cut it in half. So 9 times 11 is 99, and we're dividing it by 2. So I'm going to come out here, do 99 divided by 2, so that goes in there 4 times, which is 8. And 1 left over, bring down my 9, that goes in there 9 times. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 left over. So there's a couple options I have. So since it didn't have any decimals or fractions, I can choose how to give them my answer. So I can say 49 and 1 out of 2 left over. So I could say it's 49 and a half. Or I can add on a decimal here with a 0. It's still 99. Bring my decimal up and my 0 down. 2 goes into 10 5 times, 49.5. 50 cents, half of a dollar. These are equivalent. And I need my label, yards, squared, because I'm seeing how many squares fit inside of this shape. So I did base times height, and that gave me this parallelogram shape. So then I had to cut it in half. All right, one more here. Let's do. So we want the base and the height. So sometimes you're going to find the height outside of the triangle when they're obtuse triangles. So they're connected here. So my base is 6.4. The height is 4.5. So I'm doing 6.4 times 4.5, and then I'm cutting that in half. because otherwise it's giving me this parallelogram, so then I have to cut it in half. So 6.4 times 4.5, so there's 20, 32. So now I need a placeholder, and I'm going to times by 4 now. So it's 10 times bigger, so I'm putting my answer 10 times bigger, 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 6, 24, plus 1 is 25, and I'm adding those up. So there's 0 and 8 and 8 and 2, and I have 2 decimal places, 1, 2. So I can't just bring this straight down. Come back and think, 6 times 4 is 24. If I just bring my decimal straight down, 288 is nowhere close to 24. But 28 is, right? And these are both a little bit bigger, so it makes sense. My answer is a little bit bigger than 24. Okay, so that was 6.4 times 4.5. Lots of us just want to forget. And we're like, we're done, great, I did that problem. Yay, yay for me, I'm done. But that's a parallelogram. You've got to go cut it in half. So you are not done. We've got to take our 28, because that was base times height, and now that was this whole thing, right? Cut it in half. I'm dividing it by 2. So that goes in there 1 time, which is 2. 0 left, bring down the 8. That goes in there 4 times, right? I need something above each number. So that goes 8 and 0 left, bring down the next 8. Also goes in there 4 times, which is 8. And bringing down the 0 goes in there 0 times. So this is 14.4 yards squared. Make sure you get those labels on there. And don't forget to cut triangles in half. When you do base times height, that is giving you a parallelogram. To find that triangle, you have to cut it in half.